when you're thinking about the diets that we have in the Western world now, a lot of the problems that we face is an imbalance with fats. So previously we would have a healthy ratio between omega-3 and omega-6, omega-3 being the better, if you will, omega-6 being the one we want less of. And what's happened in our current society is actually that omega-6 is creeping up, and we're reaching a point where we're kind of at equal/more.
When did your journey into nutrition actually start? Like, I'm curious.
It's an interesting question because I think I first understood that food was a factor in wellness and life, I suppose, at a later date. I was quite unwell with a lot of like gut issues, hormone problems, but no one could really give me an answer. And I was eating very much like what I thought was a normal diet. You know, I'd have like a pancake for breakfast and then a sandwich for lunch and then pasta for dinner. And I was about 18, 19 maybe when I was like, maybe this is not what I should be doing. And I went into the modeling world for a very short period of time. And while I was there, I would be like, oh, these girls are eating like salads and like vegetables. And obviously they may not have been doing it for the same reasons that I wanted to, but started researching like, does my diet impact my gut health, or does my diet impact why I have acne? And from there, it just slowly started to evolve. And I was like reading and researching so many different things that suddenly I was like, oh, there's a direct correlation between what I'm eating and how I'm living my life and the symptoms that I'm experiencing. And from there, it just, everything just like escalated from there.
That's really interesting, because I was listening to one of your previous interviews and you were quite critical in the sense that you said for IBS, for example, there isn't really any information out there.
No.
And I think I agree with you, because surely it's different for everybody.
It's completely different. And I think one of the things that I have now realized is, and everyone who has kind of suffered with IBS will say similar, is it's not really a thing. It's a collection of symptoms that can't be diagnosed as something else. So, you know, some of my clients, for example, will have really bad gut issues that in the form of constipation and bloating. And then somebody else will come in and say that they've got loose stools and they're never bloated, but that's still IBS, but the symptoms are presented completely differently. But it's more of a case of just being like, you have something wrong with your digestive system. Let's just say it's IBS.
Why does everyone always seem to think that IBS is directly linked to dairy? Is it?
That's a really good question. Because a lot of people do think that. I mean, myself personally, I am allergic to dairy. I realized as soon as I stopped eating it, the symptoms that I had really, really improved. But at the time when I was going through my health journey, I was unable to eat so many foods. I couldn't eat, you know, basic things like garlic and onion that would flare me up in ways I couldn't understand. But now I'm very lucky and fortunate the work that I've put in, I'm able to eat everything except for dairy.
Except for dairy. Yeah. But that's a big part of your, everyone's food, really.
Exactly.
So for those that might not understand as well, dairy would be like milk, cheese, yogurt.
Cheese, anything that is from a cow, basically. So this is the way I try to explain it. And going to, you know, different countries, I love traveling, and trying to explain what dairy means can be quite challenging. So yeah, butter, milk, yogurt, cheese. I think that's everything. Ice cream. Ice cream's a tougher one. Ice cream. I think if you have IBS and you want to have ice cream. You need to enjoy ice cream. That's my opinion. I'm sorry. It might be a really bad opinion sat with a nutritional coach. You could always go with a dairy-free ice cream. That's what I do.
Okay, that's a good idea. So you don't have to suffer. But this brings up an interesting question, and correct me if I'm wrong. All over the world, people have always depended on farming. So how have so many people through evolution managed to have IBS when it seems like farming and agriculture has been the norm for every basic society?
It's a really interesting question. And I think one of the things that we look at a lot in the research that I'm doing now is like how the modern world is impacting our health and wellness. And if we look at, you know, previously with farming, for example, the quality of the crops and what was being produced was so much stronger because we didn't need so much of it. Whereas now what we've kind of done is created such a demand that we're, you know, growing crops that aren't of a similar quality. And, you know, we're spraying them with pesticides, we're filling them with chemicals and things like that, which obviously our body is not used to. And we never had that previously. So now our body's building this kind of resistance towards everything that's coming in. And of course, we're going to have reactions from it. because our bodies weren't made to have those pesticides and chemicals and things like that. And in the same way, it's meaning that the quality of the food is not as good as it used to be. And, it's all very well us saying, go back to our local farmers and local butchers. But a lot of us, including ourselves, we live in cities where that's not always possible. And it's also with an expense.
On that note, Eleanor, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and making time to talk to us today. We just talked about farming, and what I've realized is that the changes in farming have happened too quickly. So as our bodies have developed over millions of years of evolution, the changes that we're now having faced, because we live in such big societies, has happened too quickly. That means the body adapts slower.
Exactly. I think it's the same with a lot of things that I'm realizing, and especially recently with the research that I'm doing, is like, if you think about the speed of which society is changing and the speed of which we can adapt to it, it is very different. Technology is another example. But when it comes to farming and crops, our grandparents, for example, would not have had half of the variety of foods that we have now. And is that a good thing? Possibly. But is it a bad thing? Also possibly. Because they had local produce that was from down the road, which would have been a lot more kinder on their gut and digestive system. It also would have been probably organic because it was being grown by the local farmers, and just a lot better for us. Whereas now what we're experiencing is mass-produced crops and ingredients that are probably from hundreds and thousands and millions of miles away that are causing us quite a lot of issues on our health.
It seems very abnormal, and it's all about the demand, I guess, but also a lot of capitalism. A lot of let's get the fruit in every season. I heard a professional say recently there are certain fruits you probably shouldn't have all the time because it's not their season. It's not their natural time to actually be eaten.
Completely. And I always use this example with strawberries. So we always think of strawberries as being, summer, Wimbledon season. But actually you can have strawberries in the UK all year round. And my big test with that is, how do they taste though? Because if they taste the same in December as they taste in June, that's a problem, because they shouldn't taste the same. And realistically, when they taste the best is when they are in their peak season. And I try and advise clients and people who I speak to quite frequently to try and eat seasonally. And we're moving into the autumn months now, and there's a reason that things like carrots and figs and those darker coloured vegetables and fruits are topical and seasonal, because they're what our bodies crave at those times of year. Whereas, as you say, we've become a society of very much wanting everything all of the time, whereas that's not what our body was designed for.
I don't even know if regular humans asked for that. I don't think anyone sat down and said, let's have fruit all year round. I think companies realized that they can do this.
Yeah.
Maybe because the fruit grows differently in different countries.
Yeah.
So they thought, can we have it in the summer in the UK? Because there's different climates in different parts of the world, obviously different time zones. But I think furthermore as well, one thing that I'm realizing is if these fruits are genetically modified, then in season or out of season, you kind of have to worry about what you're eating.
Completely. And I think that, comes back to the local farming piece, right? I mean, obviously in an ideal world, we would all love to wander to the farmer's market on a Sunday morning and all of our vegetables are from the farm down the road, but that really isn't the case anymore. So I always say, look at where you're buying your fruits and vegetables from. If you can really, try and encourage to be buying from British farmers with the crops and things like that, because at least they're in season to where we actually are, rather than relying on things coming from abroad that may potentially, not have the same nutrient density and have traveled with air miles and things like that too.
Which also means that they have to have certain chemicals to keep their shelf life.
Exactly.
And if they're coming on big cargo ships, for example, and that takes days, if you're getting your bananas from Colombia and they need to get to the UK, the journey is probably from the farm to the transportation into the country, onto the big warehouse, and then onto your shelf.
Yeah.
So one thing, a myth that I've often thought about is people think that, oh, this is fresh, this banana was just put on the shelf. No, it was picked about 7 days ago.
Yeah, exactly. My biggest tip actually that I say to clients with this is actually to buy frozen, because when you're buying frozen fruits and vegetables, obviously not for everything, we prefer fresh, but blueberries, for example, if you buy frozen blueberries, they have been picked and frozen immediately. They haven't been picked, then transported, then put on the shelves, then sat on the shelf for a while, and then you buy them and freeze them yourself. Whereas if you buy them frozen, 9 times out of 10, they've just been picked, frozen, done.
Yeah, it's honestly, the deeper I go into this, the more I worry about the overall health of society. And I think to myself, I'm not a medical doctor, you're more trained than I am. I think a lot of the new diseases that we're finding can be attributed to this type of maize and corn in all of our foods, these really bad diets. And it also seems like, and this is the worst part, the more organic it is, the more expensive it is. And at a time like this, some people might not consider it that important to do a fully organic shop.
Completely. And, you know, this is something, again, that we really need to prioritize. I think, you know, organic fruits and vegetables are more expensive. They shouldn't be, but they are. And I always encourage people to look at the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. It changes every year in terms of the organic vegetables and fruits that you should encourage us, you know, try your best to buy organic. And I do that. You know, sometimes, of course, there's months where you're thinking, oh, like, I can't afford to do my entire food shop organic. I'll get the Dirty Dozen up and go, but these are the ones that I have to. And the same with the Clean 15. These are the ones that I'll be all right. You know, I'll be fine to, you know, buy them not organic, but then I might wash them when I get home with veggie wash or something like that to get those pesticides off.
Explain those two terms that you just used.
The Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. So the Dirty Dozen are 12 fruits and vegetables, and it's a list that's released in the US and the UK by authorities to basically say these are the vegetables and fruits that are either the highest sprayed or maybe the most damaged within the crops and resources.
Okay.
And there's 12, it changes each season. And you basically, you know, that list is what I would always choose to buy organic.
Yeah.
And then the Clean 15 is the alternative. That's the one that these are the ones that the lowest sprayed, the least ones that, you know, you need to kind of be quote unquote worried about. And those are the ones that I would then say, okay, if you can't afford to buy these organic, then just buy them non-organic. But I always say with those anyway, you know, there's a really great brand that do like veggie washes and things like that. You could just spray those with to get anything that is, you know, harmful off them.
Wow. It used to be that people just picked it from the tree.
I know. Even when I look at like farmers markets and things now, and, you know, I live in London and they do parks and, you know, the local organic farmers market. Sometimes I do find myself having to think like, is this actually organic? Like, was this from a farmer's market? And it's a problem because it's a demand thing.
A demand and a financial thing as well, actually. Because if you're a local farmer and you're finding that by trying to be organic, you have less crop.
Yeah.
And also one thing I've realized in the last few years through many documentaries is that global warming is really affecting these farmers. These farmers are now not even able to use the same methods because it could be that they have a week less worth of rain in the UK, which completely changes the crop.
Completely.
So everyone's just caught between, well, I need to keep my farm going. I need to get the food out to people and stay in business and stay profitable. And we're all just scratching our heads right now.
Yeah.
Being healthy has never been harder. And yet brands are now pushing out new things, which we'll talk about, that they say are healthy. But I don't want to forget this point. This podcast will probably be released around end of autumn, winter. So what are the fruits that people should be having during that time? Ooh. What are more natural? Because you just mentioned carrots and figs. So what's more natural around November, December?
So I always think about looking at what we would put on your plate in like Thanksgiving, Christmas, those types of things. So darker vegetables are always more in season. So things such as beetroot, carrots, potatoes, leeks also, figs, pears, what you'd make something like a crumble with. Those foods that you naturally think to yourself, oh, that's a cozy food. Whereas foods such as like watermelon and cucumber, they're a lot cooler. So you'd lean towards those in like summer months.
Right. Is that also because of the lack of sun during that season? So certain things don't grow?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So another $1 million question that we have for you today is genuinely something I've struggled with for years. Is avocado overrated?
You're asking me that and I've just had avocado on toast for breakfast.
Well, you can still answer.
I think it's an interesting question because when you're thinking about the diets that we have in the Western world now, a lot of the problems that we face is an imbalance with fats. So previously we would have a healthy ratio between omega-3 and omega-6, omega-3 being the better, if you will, omega-6 being the one we want less of. And what's happened in our current society is actually that omega-6 is creeping up and we're reaching a point where we're kind of at equal/more. Whereas with foods such as like avocado, oily fish, salmon, mackerel, you know, the foods that you be associate with being healthy fats and chia nuts and seeds, for example, those foods are needed to balance out the poor fats. the issue that we're having now is that we've gone so far and it's become so trendy that now people are over consuming it.
Okay.
Avocado, in my opinion, is an incredible source of healthy fats, and we need healthy fats. And it is a case of we need healthy fats more than we've ever known because people have completely cut them out of their diets, which is completely wrong. But it's about making sure that you don't just rely on avocado for your healthy fats. It's about making sure there's other sources within that. So without trying to dance around your question, they're not overrated. They're very important and a great thing to include in your diet, but don't rely on them to be your only source of fats.
See, I heard you say rely on them, but I think the actual truth is most people who, let's say, like to have avocado, they probably just like the taste and they probably like that it's trendy. My point is that most people probably don't even understand what healthy fats are.
This is true. Yeah.
You know? So on an everyday basis, what is a healthy fat that someone could have for their diet?
A healthy fat that someone could have in their diet. So fats are really important because they're basically like the building blocks of lipid membranes, which are the cell membranes within the body. So it keeps everything knitted together. It keeps our cells working. But also from a hormone perspective, they're vital because they almost build hormones and they nourish them in every shape or whatever. Similarly, people always forget that healthy fats are really important from a vanity perspective for hair, skin and nails. Now, the foods that we need to include to ensure that we're getting healthy fats include things such as avocado, but they also include nuts and seeds, so chia, flax, walnuts are a fantastic example, pecans, but also oily fish. So salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring, which I kind of refer to as my smash fish, are the best sources of healthy fats as well, because they're going to go into the body. They taste good, but they go into the body, they nourish the cell membranes. They're working on making sure that the body feels safe in its current state. And it's also going to be nourishing hormone regulation as well.
That's kind of brilliant. How you just like roll off all that information. But I guess when you're a specialist, that happens. Something you said really interestingly, because I've always had this question, so let me set it up. This happens for different foods, for different people. But for me, when I think of lemons, I salivate.
Oh, interesting.
Right? That's me. And I know people like me as well, but then some people salivate differently. One thing I heard you say was that digestion starts before you actually eat.
Oh, this is something I'm huge on.
You know what? I love that part of the research that I was doing. So I'm just going to kick back and watch you go from A to Z of how digestion starts through your eyes and smell. That was brilliant.
Yeah. And this is something that I think, again, with the Western world, we just don't think about. And a lot of the time before I even begin throwing, specific foods and supplements into client routines, I'm like, how are you eating? Because we all do it. I've just done it. I was just answering my emails while eating. My body is not focused on the fact that I am eating. It's focused on the emails and it's distracted. So it's not understanding, right, we need to generate the digestive fire and those enzymes to break down the food. So naturally, if I then eat my avocado on toast and 5 minutes later I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm so bloated. Well, yeah, because my body wasn't ready to digest that food. Whereas a Sunday afternoon, you spend all afternoon in the kitchen, cutting vegetables, watching the food in the oven, etc. 9 times out of 10, you probably won't get the digestive issues because you have spent the whole time preparing the food, looking at the food, chopping it, building it, breaking down the enzymes, creating those digestive juices ready for you to digest the food properly. And when you said about lemons are a bitter food. Bitter foods help digestion because they fire up the amylase in our digestive system to get things going. So I always say to clients, before you actually pick up your fork and start eating, just take 5 breaths. Take 5 breaths, look at what you're eating. And a practice that I sometimes get people to do, and I do myself in stressful times, is look at the food and appreciate it. Say, I'm so grateful that I can eat this really lovely, nourishing bowl of food, or this food is going to do this for me, and that I've chosen these vegetables because they're going to help my skin, and this protein source because it's going to help what I've done in the gym today. Those different things that get your body out of fight or flight and into rest and digest. There is a reason it's called that.
You said something very interesting, fight or flight. Or even if we don't go that far, we just talk about anxiousness. The anxiousness that I have when trying to run around and make sure that my work is done isn't the rest that I have when I eat. And a lot of places outside of the West, their cultural habits around food are much more relaxed.
Yeah.
There's a much more designated time for it. They don't believe in these, have this drink, this is 35 grams of protein, which I'm guilty of having, by the way. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, like,
it's the world that we're in, though.
But a lot of places, they sit with family, they eat, they talk. Eating is slower.
Eating is slower and it's meaningful.
Right.
I have a friend who's moved to Paris, and we were chatting about our day the other day, and the French take a 2-hour lunch break. How many people in Manchester and London and Birmingham and Liverpool and Newcastle and everywhere in the UK that are living very busy lives stop to eat?
Well, that's the thing. Let's talk about a busy life. I've not had food this morning.
Well,
all I could think about waking up was prepping for this podcast, getting here, setting up. Now, I am guilty of that in general. I've probably mentioned it on other podcasts as well. And I'm very much indirectly always intermittent fasting. Put that aside for a second. But the regular everyday person probably has 45 to 1 hour for lunch. They're probably too tired to always have a packed lunch. So they're more likely to go and grab a sandwich. The healthier the sandwich, the more expensive it is. And even when they're getting the food, they're stressed. There's long queues.
Exactly.
There's rain in this country.
And your body does not know the difference between you being annoyed about the queue in Pret versus you being chased by a lion. I just want to put that out there because, and it's something you have to check in with yourself with a lot. And I do it, this morning I was stuck in traffic getting here and I'm sat behind the wheel going, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late. But actually I was like, just stop a minute. You don't need to stress so much about it. And your body doesn't know the difference from a stress response. And I think, a lot of the time we run out to wherever there are other sandwich places, not just Pret. You run out to wherever to go and get your sandwich. And then you come back to the office and then you rip open the sandwich and you're quickly replying to your emails, trying to meet a deadline before you've actually realized, oh gosh, I finished my lunch. And your body's not ready for that. Your body's not, and then 9 times out of 10, you'll also go, I'm still hungry. Well, yeah, because your brain hasn't registered that you've just eaten something.
Yeah. Well, that's number one. But number two, I don't think these meal deals are actually meals. I've never picked up a meal deal and been full.
Yeah.
But more importantly as well, to the best of my understanding, when you chew, you have to chew properly. So when you're rushing, you're gobbling things down. So that, I know what I'm saying, but I don't know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. Chewing activates your digestive system as well. And this is something, again, I kind of realized myself because when you first start in the kind of health space, I think we naturally go towards like smoothie for breakfast, soup for lunch, stew for dinner. And then you go, oh, I haven't chewed anything. And it just shocks your digestive system. If you think about the amount of things that go into a smoothie these days, could you realistically glug that really, really quickly and the exact same amount of food hit your stomach? So say, for example, you've put in a banana, oats, peanut butter, protein powder, chia seeds, fruit, spinach, coconut milk, all of that kind of stuff. And then you sip it down within 5 minutes and then all of that lands in your stomach in one go. But your digestive system hasn't fired up to digest those foods.
And there's different ways of digesting different foods.
Yeah. So my tip here is if you're going to have something that's a smoothie or a soup or something, add a crunch to it. So I like a smoothie, especially in the summer months. I'll always have a smoothie maybe in the morning or as like an afternoon snack, but I'll blend everything together and then I'll add like cacao nibs into the smoothie. So then I'm forced to chew something.
To slow down.
To slow myself down. And also by chewing and crunching, you're activating the same neurotransmitters in your brain that are telling you, food's coming.
Yeah.
Same with a soup. Just put some pumpkin seeds or like even some
bread.
Yeah, like a crunchy, whatever, croutons or something in the soup. It forces you to chew.
So what you just said about having so many ingredients in a smoothie highlights exactly what we just said 5 minutes ago. Too much all at once.
Yeah.
You wouldn't ask someone to do 5 tasks at once.
No.
Where you ask your stomach
to digest
5 different types of food at once, which you think is a perfect, dreamy blend of health, when actually your stomach doesn't see it that way. And it probably just goes in and out.
Yeah. Also with smoothies, and I'm not poo-pooing smoothies, I love them, but they're also very cold. And quite a lot of the time people add ice to them or frozen banana to get creaminess. And our digestive system favors warmth.
Right.
So you're also then hitting it with a load of cold ice. So if you think about your digestive system having a fire, which like fire burns the food, it, you know, supports your metabolism and helps the breakdown. If you just pour a load of ice on it, it completely puts the fire out.
So when did this trend of having a smoothie for breakfast actually start?
I don't know. I do think it's because realistically, if we look at some of the quote unquote wellness healthy countries in the world, we look at California, we look at Australia, we look at New Zealand, they're hot countries. The UK, we're not supposed to be having a smoothie in November for breakfast because it's really cold outside. But I also think from a on the go perspective, smoothies are handy because if you're on the way to work, people are sipping their smoothies, or it's something that you can pre-make the night before and take it with you. And I also think from the gym world, there was this era of like shakes. And I remember being in gyms and people would be leaving like shaking their protein shaker, which I think is less now.
Definitely.
But I think that's where it all started. People were, I just need to quickly get something in. Oh, I'll just drink it.
I think protein, I don't want to go off too much of a tangent, but I probably will do.
I always do. It's nutrition.
Protein powders make sense when your body can only consume so much. So It should be a top up.
Yeah.
But also, one thing that I've noticed is I think a good advantage to slowing us down could be working from home more. It means that you don't have to commute. It means that you have 1 extra hour to yourself, or maybe 2, depending on, like in the mornings, you could live close to your place of work and still get there in an hour because it's busy.
Yeah.
Especially if you're driving or even using public transport to an extent. So this new shift, indirectly due to COVID, of working from home 3 days a week is probably benefiting someone if they're using the time properly, right?
Yeah, completely. I think it's a double-edged sword. I'm very guilty of, if I'm working from home, starting earlier and probably finishing later. But that's because I'm very much like, when I'm at home, I'm going to just get loads of stuff done. However, I will stop and cook myself a lunch rather than just grabbing something out the fridge.
Yeah.
And it is, as you say, it is that time where you're kind of going, oh, I'm making myself something fresh, something delicious, not having to spend the money on it because you're not on the go, you're at home, but also just allowing yourself to just have that time, but like, no, I'm just going to stop quickly and grab some lunch. Whereas when we're in the office, we're very guilty of just like, oh, I'll just keep going and I'll just like wait until I can grab something later on. It's not very healthy.
Or even at uni, or even between trying to fit gym into your schedule. I have a question about the smoothies though. Mentally, it still doesn't sit right with me that is a breakfast, because maybe this is just me. When I think of having any meal, I think of being full. How does a smoothie make you full?
So with a smoothie, I think, and there is a lot of noise around this on socials at the moment, it's about making sure that your smoothie has the same amount of nutrient density, I should say, as your actual meal. So the way that I try to do this is making sure that you still hit your protein requirements in the way that your breakfast would, still hit your fat requirements in the way that your breakfast normally would, and the same with the colours as well. So this is where, you know, protein powders can be quite beneficial, but you don't need to rely on them. You could put edamame beans in a smoothie. They create a lovely creaminess, but they're also a source of protein. You could put nuts and seeds in your smoothie, still a source of protein, but it's not protein powder. And it's this way of kind of making sure that all of your, I don't like this word, but macros are met, but in a dense way.
But I think it's good that I'm a bit of a layman on this topic, because I'm probably asking questions in my head that people are listening to. What even is protein powder?
Really depends what protein powder you're getting.
Right, isn't that concerning?
Exactly. And this is why, again, very hot topic of being like, what is your protein powder? Because again, going back to the like gym shakers, a lot of those protein powders aren't the best for you. I try and make sure that I go with like an organic, either a whey protein if you can do dairy, or like a hemp or pea protein if you can't. And you just want it to be protein powder and nothing else. You don't want it to be anything.
So just to confirm, is protein powder made from meat products or not?
It can be. There are some proteins that are made of like either collagen peptides, which you can get from things like fish or meat, but others are from like whey. So you can get those from like dairy, for example. Whereas a plant-based protein will be something such as like ground down sunflower seeds that have been processed and turned into a protein powder, or hemp seeds that have been processed and turned into a protein powder.
This is what confuses me. When I think of protein, I think of fish, meat, chicken. But the protein powder is a completely different type of protein. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but it doesn't mean it's lesser. Meaning, if you aren't able to get in the protein requirement that you need, having a protein powder is going to help that. I work with clients who really need to increase their protein or fat sometimes. And the way that we'll do that is like, okay, well, for a period of time, let's bring a protein powder in.
No, it makes perfect sense. I was just confused about what protein powder actually was. And for years in the gym, I just had it and I had no idea what it was. I just thought to myself, oh, gold standard protein powder. Yeah. This is what my friends have. And I thought more about the flavor than the protein. I was like, oh, cookies and cream. Yeah. I can do that every day.
Yeah. Although cookies and cream is probably not the best source of protein powder that you want.
Probably not at all. So, gym is a hot topic. More people want to be active. Gyms are often busier at the beginning of the year than towards the end. But long story cut short, what would be your gym advice? I know it's very vague, but just think of a regular person who wants to be fit and healthy. And then I'll ask you about gym bros. Yeah. But let's talk about regular people.
My best advice is actually, rather than it being gym advice, is movement advice. So I would say find a form of movement that you actually enjoy. I, for example, will probably never be someone that you will find in like High Rocks or CrossFit gym. I don't enjoy it. It doesn't suit my body and I find it quite stressful. However, if you want to let me walk for 3 hours in the middle of green space, absolutely lovely. Like, I'm very happy to do that. Yoga, Pilates, the odd strength session here and there, lovely. But I think it's about finding what you enjoy and sticking with it, being consistent with it. Just because your friend lifts weights in the gym 4 times a week doesn't mean that you have to. It means, actually, no, go and find what works for you. And also, movement shouldn't, and it definitely isn't just going and working out. It can also be walking with friends. It can also be playing paddle or tennis with friends. It doesn't have to be an hour of your day of just working out and exercising. Those other things really are important too.
And the social aspect, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Pilates is a big one these days.
Yes.
Regular Pilates, reformer Pilates, things that go over my head.
Yeah.
I look at Pilates and think, I'm not flexible enough for this. But there are a lot of benefits to Pilates, which I don't know what you do.
So it's an interesting one again, though, with Pilates, because I think it's something that we've jumped on as a society. Traditional Pilates that Joseph Pilates formed decades, maybe even centuries ago, was all about lengthening, and it was all about using muscles slowly and engaging muscles and tissues to build core strength and like help with posture, she says, as she like sits up, to make sure that you're supporting your body. What's happened now is, and I think, you know, it's not a bad thing, I think we just need to be aware of it, is that the fitness industry has come into the Pilates world and tried to adapt and change it slightly. So things such as transformer Pilates is not what original Pilates was designed for. I personally am a fan of traditional Pilates. I like things to be slower. I like to be doing the 100, which is like one of the famous exercises in Pilates. Whereas now we're moving into a world where people are doing a HIIT class on a reformer, which is very different.
So that doesn't make too much sense to me, but I know a lot of people are listening to this and they understand what you actually mean. What's the difference between Pilates and yoga? Because when I look at it, it looks similar, but obviously it isn't.
Yeah, so Pilates is, well, previously wasn't just a form of exercise. It was, you know, about rehabilitation, building the posture, building the muscles, building the core. Whereas yoga was, realistically, it's come from different cultural backgrounds to kind of support with not just exercise and movement. Realistically, it was from the mindful perspective. People would come and do a yin yoga class, which is all about stopping, calming, and just stretching, leaning into your mindfulness. Whereas they would also go and do like a vinyasa class, which is all about building fire in the body. So it's coming more from like a energetics and a spiritual side rather than it being a form of exercise.
So stretching, re-engaging with yourself, mentally being aware is essentially what it was. Traditionally then it wasn't exercise, was it?
No, it was more of a mental practice. Right. And it also came from, I'm going to say, I believe it was from like Indian heritage and cultures too. Well, different forms of yoga are from different areas of the world. We have like Thai cultures and Indian cultures and all different things. But don't quote me completely on that. And I think now we've built a world in which it can be exercise and it can be for the mind. For example, yesterday I went to a yin yoga class, which was purely for me just about stretching, releasing some tension in my body and breathing. It's not going to hit my movement goals for the week, but it's really important for my mind, and that's more important.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot. Would you recommend Pilates to the average person?
Yes, absolutely. And what I'm really enjoying at the moment is because Pilates has got itself a bit of a rep of being like a girly thing to do, like all the Pilates girlies. But actually, there's a lot of trends at the moment around kind of like gym bros trying Pilates classes and walking into them being like, this is going to be easy. And it's really not. You know, you're actually using muscles that you probably don't use in the gym because they're the tiny fibers. You're working on core strength, but not from doing like sit-ups and things like that, but from actually being able to hold your body.
Wow. And
I always notice that after I've done a Pilates class, because everything's about opening, my body actually just feels how it's supposed to. We spend so much time hunched over our laptops and hunched over our phones, whereas Pilates pushes me back and makes me remember, oh, I'm supposed to be upright.
Yeah, I've got like long-term pain here from editing and design work, and that area of the shoulder is my weak spot. As soon as I'm on my laptop for too long, I'm like, okay, it's starting to niggle. It's time to either get myself to Pilates, get a massage, or just close my laptop. Yeah. But do you always listen to that advice though?
No.
Yeah.
No, but nobody does.
No, I don't.
And I think this is something else where there's a bit of a stigma. Stigma's the wrong word. More of a reputation that practitioners have got everything clued out. They really haven't. If anything, they're relying on the resources more than most people because they are thinking, I need to be the best version of myself. And don't get me wrong, I will very obviously, prioritize my well-being and my wellness because I was unwell before and I don't ever want to go back to that point. But now it's about looking at those warning signs. And for me, that niggling shoulder is my warning sign. Obviously, as soon as it starts hurting, I don't go, that's it, slam the laptop, close, and off I go. But I will go, it's starting to play up a bit. Maybe it's something to just have in the back of your mind and maybe book something in for this week.
Yeah, I've had that my whole adult life. And honestly, it feels like it's chronic at this point. And you're right, you can't just put the laptop down sometimes. You have to edit, you have to prep. And there's a balance between responsibilities and your health because indirectly we're trading off our future health for tomorrow's success in some ways, which is a part of society these days. It is.
Well, I think it's because people now also like celebrate the grind. Like how many times have you bumped into a friend or seen a friend and they've been like, how are you? And they've gone, I'm really great, thanks. I'm so chilled. I'm great. No one says that. 9 times out of 10, everyone's going, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Like, work is so busy at the moment. I'm guilty of it, especially at the moment. September in the wellness world is bonkers. That's when we're recording and it's like nuts. And I would bump into friends, and even today I've seen a friend this morning and she was like, how are you? And I was like, we've just got to get through this last week. That's not healthy, but that's the way that the modern world has made the burnout seem sexy.
I agree with you. I do think there are beautiful stories that come from grinding and making sacrifices over years. But sometimes, on a deeper sense and even on a general everyday sense, people like Gabor Mate, they always say, we all suffer, so choose your suffering.
Completely.
And if your suffering is your career for X amount of time, okay. But your suffering shouldn't always have to be in exchange. No,
I agree. And also I think I'm very much of the opinion of you should enjoy what the suffering, quote unquote, is. So I absolutely adore my work. I love what I do.
Yeah.
So it never feels like I'm, doing something at the detriment of something else. It feels as if I'm doing this because I bloody enjoy it and that's good. But yes, of course, there are days when I'm like, oh my gosh, I just would much rather read my book and go to bed today.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm seeing it as like a pain. It's something that I'm seeing it as I've just got to get this done. Everyone has things that they don't want to do.
Yes.
And to your point about making the sacrifices, am I aware that yes, it won't always be like this? Of course. But that's kind of the choice that I've made. And I think a lot of people in this world, especially within, younger generations and young adults, I think, very much are like, I've just got to do this for the next 4 or 5 years. And that's great. But also making sure that you've got the downtime in those 4 to 5 years is also very important.
Yeah, I think what people just do now is they overwork themselves. They go on a holiday for a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do any of the healthy practices.
Mm-hmm.
They come back and they get back to it. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. I also think that's where the suppression of disease happens.
Oh.
Like, a lot of people ignore the warning signs. And as you know, what we were saying about our shoulders is a small example of it, really. It's like people ignore those warning signs, get to the end of 5 years, for example, if it's that, or, you know, for some people it's even retirement. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, well, I've stopped and now all of this stuff's happening. I don't really know why.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's always these things on social media. It's like, it didn't start when you were 40. It started when you ignored X, Y, and Z or whatever.
No, because it's true.
It's true. And I think we just need to sometimes just stop and go, oh, check in with myself again. Do I need to do anything to make sure that I can carry on again during the next 4 to 5 years?
I think, so I have 2 things to say to that. Number one, sometimes we just got to relax.
Yeah.
Honestly. So for example, me and you, we recorded after schedule today. Mm-hmm. That's okay. Mm-hmm. We both said that's fine. Mm-hmm. And because we made allowable adjustments, we were able to do that without overly stressing. Yeah. For example, I do always think, and it's not wishful thinking, it's actually, I've got this through experience. Things do work out. Mm-hmm. Like, not everything needs to happen. Not every domino needs to fall right after the other for you to still be successful.
Completely.
Yes, the small efforts matter. And no one likes hitting the end of the week and not hitting their deadlines. Mm-hmm. But remember, you're not trying to be the champion of this week. You are for 5 years from now. Mm-hmm. So as long as you're trying to get all those practices in, I don't know, maybe wake up early, get X amount of hours in, eat well, you will always attain your goals.
Yeah.
I mean, stranger things have happened in this world.
Completely. And I also think as well that there's a element of trusting the process. This is something I've definitely learned. And I think I was speaking to friends about it recently. I think you know, how many of us thought our lives would be in a different way than what they actually are right now?
Everybody put your hands up.
Exactly. So, you know, I remember if I looked back at what the plan was 5 or 6 years ago, it wasn't this. Am I happy it's what it is now? Absolutely. But at the same time, I'm also very aware that, you know, you shouldn't have to be like, well, after this date, this is what's going to happen. And after to some degree, yes, have goals and set things as deadlines for yourself. I still do that now. But I don't think you need to put endless amounts of pressure on it. No one knows what's going to happen.
At the end of the day, you can try and plan as much as you want, and very rarely will things ever go to plan. You can try and do everything right. Life just has other ideas. I mean, as a Muslim, we say you have ideas, God has other ideas. But everybody does, if they don't give up, always gets to their end goal.
That's really interesting.
I do always tell people, like, a bit dark, the only thing that can stop you is death. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the end of your, because that's the end of your timer.
Yeah.
Everything else you want in life is achievable, and it will come with challenges, and it will come with you being delayed by a month, delayed by a day, a week, sometimes years. You know, whenever I listen to successful people, and I don't say that loosely, I'm thinking about right now some really successful people. I've never heard any of them say, yeah, I did it in a year. No. Yeah, I did it when I thought I'd do it.
Takes time.
Yeah.
And I think it also sometimes takes time for the realization that it takes time to hit.
Life is just full of weird realities that slap you in the face.
How many business owners have been like, oh yeah, well, we'll build this and sell in a year? No, you won't.
No. Well, people who are trying to market you something probably are.
Yes. That's
another problem I have with, not to go off too much of a tangent, but people who sell courses and people who sell self-improvement, and apparently their presence in your life for 30 minutes a day can make you, no, relax. Everybody stop buying. Just like how we've been saying, sometimes the quick, easy food isn't the best. That also goes for the advice that you're seeing online. You know, the better food might be the organic food that's in season, and so is the advice sometimes. We're consuming a lot of junk, quite literally.
Yeah.
And we're also consuming a lot of junk values online.
Yeah.
However, for the purposes of this podcast, we will not focus on the junk values online. Let's go back to regular gym bros. I kind of ask this from a selfish personal perspective, because after many years, I finally started to go in the gym again. But what I've realized after sitting here for 10 minutes is that I actually don't know what I'm consuming. All I know is protein, good food, and sleeping well. Surely there's more to gym than that.
Yeah, recovery.
Okay, recovery.
And this is the point that people always forget about. And there is, emerging trends now, which I'm so relieved of that you can work out 5 days a week, but if you don't recover, nothing's going to change. And by recovery, I mean allowing your body to repair. I mean allowing your muscles to actually regenerate and build. And I mean your body just going, time to relax.
When you say recovery, are you physically talking about your body being able to produce the proteins it needs, like in the time frame that it needs?
Yep. So by allowing your body to rest, that's when those amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein, are going to be put to work.
So rest is more than just sleeping 8-9 hours, correct?
Absolutely.
Does that mean then you should go gym one day and rest the other? Or is it okay if you're working on a different muscle the next day?
It really depends on your goals. I can't really comment too much as I'm obviously not a PT, but I always say the best way to do it is just to have a really good variety of movement within the week. So yeah, if you're doing arms on a Monday and upper body on a Monday, lower body on a Tuesday, and then you're having a rest Wednesday, great. And then maybe Thursday you're going to go for a walk. Friday you're going to do a full body HIIT class or something. It's just good to have a good variety, but also making sure there is downtime. And also recovery comes into the food that you're eating too, because you want to make sure that you are replenishing your muscles and making sure that they're being built and being replenished basically. Otherwise you are going to be running on an empty tank. And that's where people start saying, well, I'm going to the gym and I'm doing all this stuff, but nothing's changing. Yeah, but are you allowing your body to actually recover, build muscle, and do the work that you're putting in?
I think another big thing that is a mistake within the gym world is this idea of spacing out what days you work out what, and then forgetting that sometimes the best workouts are the workouts that work out more than one thing. So the rowing machine is probably the best workout you could do in the gym. And what it actually does is that even if I hit my mic, even if I hit shoulders and arms, for example, on Monday, if I just hit the rowing machine on Wednesday, I've reignited those muscles again without having to dedicate a whole hour session to them.
Yeah. So
mobility, exercises that do more than one thing is, I think, very important for gym. Consuming food properly, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I also think, we look at the extremes in terms of, a lot of people that do a lot of extreme sports might have a sports massage to help with their recovery. Or me personally, I'm a massive fan of using red light therapy. So I will sit in front of red light after doing quite an intense workout class. And it's however works best for you and whatever is accessible to you as well.
Red light therapy is very, very, very new to me. So what are the benefits? Why do people do it? Why do you do it? And what's the difference between red light therapy that might be good for your skin and red light therapy that's good for recovery?
So red light therapy, it is, as you say, it is trending, and it's a lot of the time people don't really understand it. So the way that I try to explain it to people is, if you think about what's trending the most at the moment, it's a lot of the red light masks. This is what we're seeing on Instagram, what we're seeing on TikTok is girls and guys wearing red light masks to help their skin. But what's happened there is the beauty world has jumped on red light therapy. Red light therapy has been used for decades for people to support recovery, support their cellular health, and support repair on the body as well. So some of the oldest and top physios would be like shining red light onto their patients while they were manipulating the body. But what's happened is, because, beauty's a lot cooler than having a broken back, people have decided, actually, no, I'm just going to only use it for skin, hair, and nails. Now, there's two different types of red light therapy. There's red light, which we see from like masks and things like that. And then there's near infrared light. And this is, again, something that people don't really know very much about. So red light is the thing that's going to help with supporting skin, hair, nails. It's what you see on your face masks, that kind of thing. Near infrared light is what's going to penetrate beyond the skin, go into the tissues, go into the cells, go into the muscles, and help with recovery. So by applying red light and near infrared light onto different areas of the body, you're penetrating through different layers of the body to directly impact the repair and the recovery and the cellular regeneration of those areas.
Could we go a bit deeper? I'm still trying to, do you know what I mean? I just want to understand a bit more. Like, what does it actually do? How does it interact with whatever's inside my body?
It naturally accelerates the healing process, is the way that I would describe it best. So, for example, we have these, everything in our body is powered by cells. And in the cells, we have the mitochondria. Now, the mitochondria is the energy powerhouse. It's what charges our cells to do what they do best. And red light therapy is something that basically supercharges the mitochondria to put it into action. So that's it from a cellular perspective. From a tissues and bones and muscle perspective, it brings everything down and just calms things. So if you're thinking about the fact that you've just been to the gym and then you want to help with the recovery by using the red light therapy, you're going to be directly targeting the muscles and tissues by allowing the space and the inflammation to calm.
So I know that all of these methods are often based on natural things.
Yeah.
If you weren't doing red light therapy, what would your natural form of red light be throughout the day? Is that something to do with the sun?
Yeah, exactly. So this is the other reason that people use it. So, and again, also a reason that I use it is obviously you've got the body physical benefits to it, but also going back to the way that the Western world has changed us. We used to wake up to red light from the sunrise and go to bed to red light from the sunset. Now we wake up and stare at our phones, which is blue light, and we stare at our phones to go to bed, which is also blue light, which is the opposite of what we were naturally raised and born to do. Blue light interrupts melatonin production, which is the hormone that promotes sleep, whereas red light encourages melatonin production, but it's telling the body sunrise and sunset. So what I tend to do is in the morning, I'll shine my red light into my bedroom while I first wake up in the morning. It's mirroring the things that we no longer have, which is that watching the beautiful sunrise first thing in the morning. And the same with the sunset is it's mirroring the fact that we don't have the sunset in the evenings because we're all on our phones and laptops.
No, I definitely get that. And I'm somebody who spends 90% of my work doing it in my room.
Yeah.
So getting out, it can be kind of difficult. But what I always do is like when I'm asleep, my blinds are never fully shut.
Yeah.
So that the light can directly hit my eyes in the morning.
And, you know, for me personally, I mean, I can't deal without daylight. It really, really impacts me. And the area in between your eyebrows has got the pineal gland in it. And that is what resets our body clock every single day. So I have this quote, which is called green time before screen time. And for me, that's about getting outside and literally exposing the pineal gland to green space, to daylight, because it restarts your circadian rhythm. And with that, that's what promotes a good night's sleep. That's what promotes healthy hormones, what helps promote digestive health, skin health, everything is by being in tune with this natural circadian rhythm of your body.
Which is very true as well for anyone who might be questioning it. Think about it. For millions of years, that's how people have lived.
Yeah.
And okay, we have in many ways longer life expectancies than some of those people, but at the same time,
are we happy? Are we healthy?
No, we're not. And you know, you talked about the light waking you up, but it's more than that. For example, if I wake up with a bit of a cold and it's kind of like it's coming towards flu season, if you're listening to this, you probably got a cold right now, right? It spreads like wildfire in this country. Going out and trying to just let the air open up your sinuses is better than a little Vicks tablet or, you know, so many advantages to just being up in the morning with the sunrise.
Completely. It's really, really important, and it resets your whole body.
Yeah.
It really does. And I think with the way that the world is now, I mean, I'm a perfect example of this. I work with an Australian company. So I'm up in the morning, and when the clocks dreadfully go back, I will be doing calls in the dark. But it's about kind of finding those little hacks, biohacks, if you will, that are helping us to live our lives in the way that society wants us to, but still coming back to nature. And I think, you know, that's where my kind of ethos is. And with the work that I do with Bond Charge, it's all about finding those rituals and combining them with technology to bring things to be the most natural as they can.
One question that just came into my mind was the idea of sleeping and, well, waking up and sleeping to the cycle of the sun, which then might bring in a very obvious question. So are we supposed to sleep for longer in the winter?
Yes.
Because it's cold, or?
Yeah, well, because if you think about cavemen, they didn't know what time it was. They woke and they slept when it went dark. So now we try and put our alarms on for 5 a.m. to make sure we can make a HIIT class. Our bodies weren't designed to do that in the winter. And people get really irritated with themselves in the winter months. They're like, oh, my motivation's gone. I don't want to go to the gym anymore. That is how the human body is designed. It's designed to rest. I saw a really lovely quote the other day, which was saying, you know, we're all kind of mourning the end of summer. And this quote was saying how try and flip the narrative. It's not that summer's over, and you're thinking, gosh, it's time to like hide away. It's actually know that this is the time of the year where we should slowly start moving into resting and nourishing our bodies, because it's preparing us for the next season. And that's really, really important.
I mean, nature does it, animals do
exactly. But we think that we're better than all of that, so we just wake up and do a HIIT class at 5 a.m. Stress our bodies out a bit more.
I think another very obvious one that a lot of people suffer from and they might not know, the lack of sun, the lack of good weather, the lack of good societal norms, which are out the window, is really affecting what they call seasonal depression.
Yeah, seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah.
Everybody in the UK should be supplementing vitamin D from October through to March.
Yeah.
Because we don't get enough of it in the UK anyway, because we're indoors all the time. But in the autumn and winter months, I mean, clinically, and the research shows, we see a massive spike in low mood as soon as October comes in. And one of the ways, there are obviously so many, but one of the ways to really, really support that is supplementing your vitamin D, because that's the nutrient of the sun that we're all depleted in, but also exposure to light therapy.
Yeah. You could just move to a warmer country as well, I guess.
Yeah. Or just flip and go to Australia in the summer.
Go to the idea of, I think another thing that doesn't help, and maybe we're going a bit away from nutrition, but I think this is important. Cities are very grey. Cities are very busy. And even if, go past evolution, just in general, a lot of people don't like that. No one likes to be stuck in traffic.
No.
That's not a good way to start your day.
It's not the way that we were designed to be either. I mean, even today, driving around, and I'm like, wow, Manchester's changed so much. There's so many more skyscrapers and things are really, really different. That's not what we were designed to be. And we were designed realistically to be surrounded by nature and trees. Yeah. And I think that's why people that live in cities often crave going away so much more than people that are probably not in cities, because they don't have that constant, always on the go, in the same way that if you can just kind of like stop and pause for a minute.
Yeah, but I think what I've noticed with holidays that people go on, they're not really done in the effective reconnecting way of nature either. A lot of people just want to party, and they're not really living their life. They're just extending it somewhere else, drinking the food. Again, one big trap, which everyone's probably noticed, is that no matter where you are, if you're in a tourist area, you might as well still be in London or Manchester.
This is true.
They're going to give you the same food, the same franchises, the same lifestyle. Like, the tourist areas are also often the cities, so if let's just say I go to Amsterdam, for example, Amsterdam and London aren't that different.
My thing there is, I mean, I absolutely love traveling. Like, it's a massive passion of mine. And what some of the things that I've lent into more recently is like wellness travel and tourism and things like that. But my rule, I will never go to a chain if I'm traveling, because I think, well, if I'm in, for the argument's sake, China, I want to try their food. Yeah. And the same with, I mean, I spent some time in Finland, and the Finnish food and the Finnish culture, I wanted to immerse myself in it, and I wanted to feel Finnish, if you will, for a little while. And that's why we travel. We don't travel to go to the exact same restaurants that we go to in England. Like, I don't want to go to Starbucks if I'm in like an incredible area of the world. Like, I want to go and try their delicacies.
Yeah, and you also don't want to be surrounded by the same things. That's what I'm saying. Like, travel, like, for a lot of people, has just become time off work, but essentially you're pretty much in the same city. That's what I mean when I said, like, and not to sound harsh, but a lot of people don't even take holidays properly.
No.
It's just, I'm going here, but what did you actually see?
Yeah. No, that's a very true point.
If you're not going further than 2 to 3 miles out of your hotel radius, you've not had anything different.
Yeah, that's true.
It's very rare. And anyways, explore, go out there, go on Google Maps. You're not going to get lost. And if you're English, the vast majority of the world speaks English, so you'll be fine. I'm just trying to offer some advice to, like, really explore, really try the food, really try to... If you're partying every week, don't then extend that on holiday. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, live a different life on holiday.
I think as well, I've really started putting together like travel guides, like wellness travel guides more so for me, but it's, where's the best places to eat? Actually, even like exploring different like studios, like workout studios, what's different about those in comparison to what you've got where you're from? I went to Lisbon and tried like a different yoga studio every day and realized that their approach to yoga was completely different to like the UK's approach to yoga. Just little things like that. It's quite interesting.
And it's natural because, and both things can be true at the same time. You know, your perspective, my perspective, your culture, my culture, will see small variations that make really big differences. I want to go back to green time before screen time.
Okay.
Because I know you're really passionate about it. You've trademarked it. And I really want people to listen and really hone in and understand why this idea of doom scrolling is messing with their head. You know, not just waking them up, not just giving them weird values, because you have no idea what's going to turn up on your Instagram these days. But in a biological way, how does it affect you?
Yeah, it's only getting worse, right? So I think, firstly, doom scrolling is, as you literally say, it's a problem where people are literally just getting immersed in what is realistically a highlights reel of people's lives, and B, it's a dopamine addiction. So by this, I mean, previously we would get our dopamine, which is our feel-good hormone, from seeing friends, seeing family, having memories and going to concerts and, you know, making memories. Now we're getting very quick fixes of dopamine from social media and doom scrolling, you know, whether that's looking at cat videos on YouTube or, you know, TikToks.
Just shout out to the cat videos.
I mean, everyone knows that they're there, so why not? Or going on TikTok and, you know, it's all of a sudden telling you what to prompt ChatGPT. Like, this is the way that we kind of try to forget what's going on in our world. And, you know, we all do it. We'll be kind of, I'm guilty of this and I'm really working on it myself. It's like, I'll get my book out before going to bed. Instead of picking up the book, I'm there on my phone. I'm like, right, 2 more and I'll go to sleep. But that is ruining our neurotransmitters in our brains because we're just losing our intelligence to it, to be honest.
It's too much information too quickly, and I don't even think the dopamine is that effective, if that makes sense.
And it's ruining our attention span because, I mean, how many people get irritated because the video is too long?
Or just like, you can fast forward now by clicking
exactly, like just
screen.
watch it on like quick so that I can just get to the end of the video. And, you know, whereas before we would sit and enjoy a movie. I even think it's very similar to how many times do you now sit and watch a movie without picking your phone up? Everyone has their phone with them when they're watching a film and they keep picking their phone up. Oh, I missed that bit of the film. What just happened?
Well, here's something that's might be relatable for a lot of people. Sometimes if you're not always on your phone, you feel like something big is going to happen. I'm going to miss it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I did a Unplugged retreat. Have you ever heard of them?
Well, I was listening, prepping for this video.
Yes.
Your podcast where you talked about it.
I did an Unplugged retreat and I think that was the biggest eye-opener for me because it's basically 72 hours without any technology.
Wow.
Like I literally had a Nokia smartphone, a Nokia brick phone just in case anything happened because I was completely on my own in the middle of the countryside.
It's a good tool for safety. If you need to chop down a tree.
Honestly, it was a compass and a Nokia. It was like, wow. But that was so interesting to realize how much we depend on our phones because I locked my phone away and all of a sudden I was like, well, now what do I do? And that's really not good. And I'm quite a creative person. So I took like paints with me and I took coloring and I took my journal and I would sit there and I'd be like, I don't know what to do. And it was only after the 24-hour mark, maybe, that I was like, oh, I feel so free. And I really did feel incredible. And actually then when I got my phone back, I remember being like, oh, I don't want to turn it on.
Did you not get anxious? Did you not think, what if someone calls me? What if someone needs something?
I mean, with the Unplugged trip, you do have a number which is for the Nokia that you can kind of give. Like, I gave it to my family and I was like, just in case you really do need me. But no. And I also think as well, obviously you have to think about the fact that I had planned that time. I was off work because you obviously can't work with no technology in this world now. So that was fine. Whereas like now, for example, obviously today's a work day and you're kind of thinking, oh my gosh, how many emails are coming in or whatever.
So I'm really interested in doing the Unplugged. Give me some more insights on it. For example, if I'm editing, is that cheating?
Yes.
So I can't edit my podcast if I'm...
No.
Okay.
Because that was the thing. I originally was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go. And I had some articles that I needed to write. So I was like, I'll take my laptop and I'll just edit some articles. And yeah, okay, you probably could do that. But the whole point is that you're disconnecting to reconnect.
So if I'm... Okay, I'm trying to push this and I should be asking about a topic, not pushing my thoughts. But if I'm not uploading on Instagram or YouTube or checking my stats, because I'm obsessed with checking my stats, especially on YouTube, if I'm just editing, is that cheating?
I don't know. I'd have to double check. I would say yes, because you're still working.
Okay.
And I think the premise of it is like Unplugged as a business model was originally built for disconnect to reconnect, meaning you reconnect with the person you go with. I chose to go by myself. And I looked at it as disconnect to reconnect with myself. So I did a lot of journaling work. I did a lot of just art. I would walk, and I actually ended up like just walking and talking to myself. Any thought that came into my mind, I'd be like, oh, let's chat about that. There's no one around. I mean, the cows might have thought I was a bit nuts, but it helped.
It's actually because I had that habit when I was younger. I still have it to an extent now, but a psychologist said it's very normal.
Yeah.
You're just, it looks abnormal because often when you see someone talking to themselves, you might think, whoa, they need to be, checked out. But the truth is, it's one of the ways in which your brain wants an answer from you. Now, if you're doing it 24 hours a day, that's a bit concerning. But really, it's only concerning if you're a schizophrenic and you're making stories up in your head, and I've gone off on a tangent. But going back onto Unplugged, so if you go with someone, for example, or if you go with yourself, can you, I don't know, paint, play cards, play a board game?
Yeah.
You can do all of those
things. You can do all of those things. And they actually provide a lot of them with you. So the one that I did, they had like board games there, they had a little radio. And even that, like, it was like, oh yeah, I have to dial up the radio, like the way that we used to. And, I really adore cooking, but don't really get to do it enough. So you've got your own little kitchen there, and I did my food shop on the way there, took all my ingredients, made some really lovely meals. And also I went in the summer, so it was really nice to just sit outside, and I literally just sat outside and read my book. You
can make a fire maybe.
Make a fire. They've got gorgeous like fire pits there. Health, which is the online wellbeing platform that I work on, they've just done a collaboration with Unplugged as well. So they've got a whole cabin which is dedicated to wellness. So you've got like a sauna and an ice bath and journals and lovely healthy snacks and all that kind of thing too.
I've just been sold on it.
There we go.
Honestly, it's absolutely what you've just said. The idea of me not being, maybe anxious is the wrong word, but on edge, always feeling like I'm going 100 miles an hour. For 3 days not to have to do that. I can't remember the last time I did that.
I think for me, it's more about the reset. Like I came back and I remember saying to my friend, I feel as if I've done months and months worth of therapy. Like it was really interesting. I felt as if my thoughts had just, like, everything made sense. And it was really, and I think almost now I'm almost thinking I should go back again now, but it's that thing of when I came back, I was so good at being like, I don't need my phone. And I was like, in the evening, instead of being on my phone, I'll paint or I'll read my book. And then slowly but surely those things start to creep back in, and then you kind of go, oh, whoa, I'm doing it again. And then you need to go back to it. Would recommend it to anyone. You can go with someone or go by yourself, whatever you do. But I just recommend switch off and just experience how the world used to be.
Yeah, not that long ago, actually.
Exactly.
That's we were talking about wellness is a great tangent, because I actually want to go on a post that you recently put up. I don't remember the exact Instagram account, but it was something to do with, what good is a healthy diet if you're not having a healthy lifestyle, if you're not mentally. I just want you to highlight for a few minutes how important it is to be mentally, happy and calm. Yeah. Just as much as gym and food and.
Completely. And so, for example, at Health, they look at the 4 pillars of well-being as eat, move, mind, and sleep. There's a reason that they do that, because those are the 4 pillars of what, build a healthy constitution. But also, it's all very well eating the right diet, going to the gym as many times a week as you need to, but are you actually happy? Because a lot of the time people put so much obsession and emphasis on making sure their diet is perfect that they forget to live. And I'm very guilty that when I first entered this space, I was that person who, I'm not drinking, I'm not eating sugar, I'm not eating, anything that's got a seed oil in it. Now I realize how important the human connection is and how important those mindful moments really are, that it's about finding that balance. So yes, I think I have a very healthy diet. I exercise a lot, but I will always make sure that there is space in my diary to see friends and just sit and laugh, because that is also more important than making sure your plate is perfect.
Yeah, 100%. Like, your mind is arguably, the most important thing in your body. So much goes through your mind.
Exactly.
And, as we just touched on earlier, the idea of anxiousness changing how you digest food. So if you're somebody who's constantly on edge due to work or whatever else it might be, then you're trying to put healthy things into your body, but you're not living a healthy life.
No. And, you know, we did a really interesting post on this where it was like, is your protein macro more important than the people you eat with? Because I love nothing more than going for dinner with friends. I think there's something so gorgeous. And I love a small plates dinner, like I have to say. Nothing makes me happier than sitting around a table with my girlfriends and being like, oh, let's order that, let's order that, let's order that. And we'll just sit there, giggle, laugh, like, yeah, another round of drinks, please. Like, that is also well-being. It doesn't have to be about getting your vegetables in and making sure you're doing your breath work every morning, because sometimes actually the happiest moments that also make your body feel calmer are when you're doing the complete opposite of what your well-being is telling you to do.
Well, the truth is as well, we're very, very social creatures.
Exactly.
And whatever type of research you do in this world, outside of like small examples of long-term meditation in Buddhism, for example, you know, every religion, culture and practice encourages you to live and live for other people. You know, eat with other people, do things for other people, feel good about doing things for other people. And the statistics as well, they kind of show that in the Western world, with everything we have, with the abundance we have, we're not as happy. Because people are disconnected. Like you just said, for example, you know, going out with my friends and having food. A lot of people struggle to have proper friendships these days.
Yeah.
You know,
and
because...
Sorry, carry on.
My bad, sorry. But, you know, for example, just because they want to work or they want to have a mortgage or moving cities for work and not learning the right social skills. If you're growing up in this era, especially if you're, let's say, born 2000 onwards, I was born in 95, right? But I've noticed this. If you're born in 2000 onwards, a lot of people, they don't have those social skills that you were taught at school. Everything is about their phone. The way they interact is different. Their romantic sense is completely different. The way children move to each other these days, so much is just unnatural.
Yeah. And I think it's a combination of, you know, that digital world is a massive part in that. Did it like pics or it didn't happen? Is it on the gram or it didn't happen? And I'm guilty of that. Like my friend this weekend, we had like a really gorgeous, like wholesome weekend, which was really needed from both of us. And she found, like, she was like, oh, why are you taking photos of the hot chocolate I've just made you? And I imagined it was like, I have no idea. And, you know, it's that thing of all of a sudden we've been like conditioned that if you don't post about it, you didn't do it. And I think that is the generation that have been the victim to that. And I've got a few friends now and that have kind of gone, actually, I don't want to do social media anymore. And they've just completely deleted it off their phone. And I do really believe that is the generation of people that have gone, okay, so we've had this thing, we've been exposed to it, but actually we kind of want to live the way our parents and grandparents lived. And I do wonder if there is going to be a shift away from it for the exact reasons that we've just said.
You know, one crazy stat that I'm going to put in here, I don't know if they're still doing it. They might have been, you know, called out on it. But for example, when Instagram realized that girls, especially girls, would delete more than 3 pictures at once off their Instagram, what do you think they started giving them ads off?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
It's slightly obvious when I say it. Makeup.
Interesting.
It makes a lot of sense because
it does make sense.
To remove more than 3 posts at once might, you know, generally indicate that you're feeling self-conscious for some reason. So I don't know if they still do it, but platforms like Instagram, Meta in general, I think, would then push things that would make you feel better about yourself. Makeup, Botox. So that's a bit of a contextualization of what people are having to face.
Yeah. And it's difficult as well because I think in the worlds that we all live in, we're all kind of trying to be against it while all working with it at the same time.
It's hard to change the system from within. It's definitely not easy when everyone does it. You can look a bit mad and weird for not having Instagram. One practice that I picked up after I graduated was that Instagram will now only be adding to my life.
Yeah, I agree.
So for example, that's easy for me to say because I find people like you through Instagram, right? So I don't know how the regular person does it, but let me just explain how I do it. For example, I might now post on my personal Instagram account once a week. And if I do, it might be a picture of my cat because everyone loves my cat and I was asking for my cat. But the reason I do that is so that everything else goes on Lazo's podcast Therefore, even my pictures of food or whatever it is somehow becomes productive, somehow means I can engage with someone rather than doing what I used to do for decades. Well, I'm not that old, for a good decade, posting just because I'm out.
Yeah.
Just because I had that hot chocolate.
Yeah.
Just because, like, whatever you can think of.
Yeah.
So there are ways in which you can make social media productive, and there's also ways of being a passive observer and not feeling weird about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's where I'm very similar. Like I have my, obviously, like my business profile page, which is where you see, like, as you say, all my work and things like that. But then I also have my personal page, which is also kept for like my friends and family. And that's probably where I'll probably post like one dump of what I've been up to, just like as and when I remember it. Whereas, you know, the other one is like a conscious, like, right, I need to do a post about this. And it's like helping because I'm hoping to help and support other people. It's not just because it's going to make me feel better.
Yeah. And you're productive. You're building something while doing that. That's the difference. And if you have the opportunity to do that, to use social media in a constructive way, you should. I mean, it brings about a lot of opportunity. I've lost count of how many people I've found through Instagram, you know, so that in itself is priceless to me.
Yeah. But I think as well, it's a very interesting point because if you think back to like the pandemic, it was the only way people could talk. And the amount of people that I have spoken to recently that we connected through Instagram, you know, whether it's like a business person or a friend who's maybe like into the same thing as me, even, you know, when you go to like networking events and things like that, no one's giving their business card anymore. They're giving you their Instagram page.
Yeah, and that's good. It's a bit more personal and intimate. It's better. People put cards in their pocket and they lose it, whereas you can pop up on someone's feed. And there's definitely advantages to social media. You know, there's good and bad in everything. Some of the food that we've highlighted today, which is incredibly healthy, for example, have too much of it is bad. You know, water sustains all of life. Have too much at once, you will end up in a hospital. You know, so it's always about a balance. And I have a few more very specific questions to ask.
Okay.
A general question that a lot of people tend to have, because I don't know, I guess it's different for everybody, but how do you treat acne?
Oh, that's a good one. So I'll give you a bit of backstory first. So the reason that I kind of, I suppose, specialized in it really was I've suffered with it for years and years, like from my very early teens into my very like mid 20s, I was always suffering with it. And what I realized is the skin is an outward reflection of something that's going on internally. And by this, I mean, it could be that your liver might be a bit stagnant and it's showing on your skin. It could be that you're, you know, how many times have people been on a night out drinking and then the next morning they look tired because they're dehydrated? You know, those little things that we all kind of know about. But then looking deeper, it's about, okay, my gut health isn't great and it's showing on my skin. So I always look to go with a root cause approach. I always look to say, okay, what's going on in your gut bacteria? What's going on with your liver? Are you nourishing yourself enough that your skin should thrive? Those little things are my first port of call. And then I would also then work topically to like rebalance the health of the skin from a topical perspective as well.
So that raises the question, what actually causes acne? Is it a hormone imbalance? Is it problems with the liver? Or
it could be any of the above. I've worked with clients who have had issues where their gut health isn't in a very good way. That was a lot of the things that were issues for me. Is that I had SIBO, which is a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And that was portraying problems on my skin. But I also had a lot of hormone imbalances. So that would then portray in different ways on my skin. I think with the modern world now, a lot of the clients that I see have a lot of hormonal imbalances that they are deeming as normal, but probably aren't. But also there's a lot of burden on our liver these days. And our liver is a very vital detox organ that we just need to nourish and support. Because if your body isn't detoxing properly, the body will find a way for toxins and waste to come out through the skin. And that's where people start noticing things like rashes, acne, eczema, that kind of thing.
So acne, when I had acne briefly, I was told it was based on what I was eating, not hormonal. But what I'm understanding you say is that there's many ways to have causes of acne, which then questions the treatments out there. So everyone needs something different.
Exactly, yeah. And yeah, diet's the first point of call always, but also it's about understanding like the why behind it. And, you know, I will be the first to say when I was in my early teens, I tried every medication, everything. And yeah, okay, some of them worked, but then it came straight back again when the medication was out of my system. And that is the thing, is that a lot of the time these medications are just covering up what's causing the skin problem in the first place. And now it's about kind of going, okay, this is why my skin is the way it is, and this is what I'm going to do about it.
Is there testing that can be done to, I'm just guessing here, but let's say over a few months for you to test out why you have acne? Take out different things in your diet, maybe?
Exactly. So the way that I work with my clients was very much a case of looking at their gut health. So I would do like a gut test with them, and there's specific bacteria strains that I would be looking for, like, very clear that they've got something going on with their skin there. And the same with also doing blood testing. A lot of the time people would be very deficient in vitamin A, which is really essential for making sure that your skin is like healthy and clear. And it's also a nutrient that a lot of people are deficient in. So it's about looking at deficiencies, gut health, and detox pathways. They're the three that I always go to.
The body very beautifully fixes itself. Like, one thing that I've always said to people, I don't have this luxury anymore because now I'm adulting. But when I was younger, let's say when I was at uni, anytime I was ill, I would just take 2 to 3 days completely off. And because I knew that through sleep, through sweating things out, sometimes through fevers, and sometimes through things like diarrhea, your body gets rid of all of the toxins.
Yeah.
When you make medication do that for you, it doesn't have the same effect, right? Because your body can naturally heal itself, it grows itself, it replenishes a lot of things. It leads me on to my question then. Is modern medicine as effective as we think if our bodies can do a lot of things on their own?
I think modern medicine is fantastic. However, it needs to be used where it's needed.
Right.
So for example, if you get hit by a car, don't come and see a nutritional therapist straight away. Call 999. However, if you're suffering with ongoing chronic conditions which have been going on for years and you just can't get the answers, maybe that's when you need to look for an alternative approach.
Right.
I think also we have, this is my case personally, I had someone who specialized on my hormones when I was seeing medical professionals, someone who specialized in hormones, someone who specialized on my tummy, someone who's helping me with my skin. And none of these people spoke to each other. And then it wasn't until I went, hold on a minute, all of this is connected. Like, my gut health is bad, which is contributing to my hormones, which is making my skin bad. Why has no one made these connections? And that's where, annoyingly, we don't have this in the UK just yet, where functional medicine, naturopathic medicine is really important because it's looking at the body as a whole rather than an individual system.
Wow, it's just blown my mind, actually. Okay, that makes sense. Everything's interconnected, your thoughts, your gut.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because if you think about, I always think about maybe our parents and grandparents. Oh, I'm going to see the endocrinologist tomorrow. Okay. Oh, next week I've got an appointment with the cardiologist. Okay. All of these things are connected. Like, your body knows, it's giving the messages.
It's also really annoying. Like, if we actually, for example, your GP sends you for a scan with a specialist. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get the letter back. There's no direct talk. There's just a letter. So they just read the transcript and they ask the patient. And nowadays in the NHS, they have this really method to their madness. I don't know. They always ask the patient these days, what do you want from this appointment? Well, that's the thing. They don't know either. So yeah, what you've said makes a lot of sense.
It's really difficult. And going back to your point about what do you want from this appointment, I was having a really interesting conversation with someone the other day because, I was someone who at the age of 18 went to see a hormone specialist in gynae, and they were like, well, there's nothing wrong with you. And I was like, I'm telling you now, there is something wrong with me. And until I did the research and came back and went, this is what I found, that's when something started to be done about it. And I was speaking to someone the other day who was saying about like being equipped to go into your appointment. And we shouldn't have to do this, but my biggest advice is do a bit of research. And I don't mean go to your GP and say, I saw this on TikTok and I think this is what's wrong with me. But what I do mean is, if you've seen someone on TikTok potentially who's got similar symptoms to you, have a research about their symptoms and have a research about what they're going through, because then you can present with an educated answer. Keep a food diary, keep a symptom diary. That's how you're going to be able to get the answers, because annoyingly we are very overstretched with our medical services, and that's the only way we're going to get through.
Yeah, 100%. I think that question can't be answered by everybody, but like you said, definitely do some prep before going. Quick question.
Yeah.
Is breakfast the most important meal of the day?
Well, that's not even a quick question. That's a loaded question. Is breakfast the most important meal of the day? Yes, but it doesn't have to be first thing in the morning. So
okay.
It's a really difficult question because I think we are living in a world where fasting is like super, super cool. Fasting is fantastic, but not for both sexes. And it's also really dependent on how your body is. By this, I mean, females are a lot more sensitive to fasting because their bodies require fuel a lot more for their hormones to be functioning and working properly. So fasting for them, probably not the best thing for them to do.
Actually, Islamically, in the month of Ramadan, when they're on their cycle, women don't have to fast.
No, exactly. Because it's too stressful. The body really needs those nutrients to be able to, work properly. Having said that, they may decide, okay, I'll have breakfast and I'll have lunch, but I'll fast until the next day, for example.
Yeah.
Breakfast is an important meal of the day because it's what sets your body and your blood sugar up for the rest of the day. So, for example, how many times have you had a sweeter breakfast, maybe with a coffee, and then by lunchtime you're like crashing and you're feeling awful? That's because your blood sugar would have spiked and then immediately would have just plummeted afterwards. Whereas having something like a protein-rich breakfast or avocado, for example, healthy fats, fiber, it's going to make sure that your blood sugar stays nice and stable. And that's going to mean you're not going to have the crazy crash in the afternoon or a few hours later.
Because unnatural sugars, they break down much quicker, and natural sugars break down more slower, but they're harder to come by these days.
Exactly. And also the sugar is going to make your blood sugar spike and then crash, whereas protein and fiber and fats keep your blood sugar stable, and it just naturally, you don't want a roller coaster with your blood sugar. You want it to be nice and stable.
Okay. A final point before we get you to plug, and people, you can all find out where you can find Eleanor and all of her amazing information, is, we actually are in a society addicted to sugar. It's in everything. Why is sugar so accessible? Why is it so cheap? And why is it in everything?
I can't answer why it's everywhere and why it's cheap, but I can say that it's addictive because it's become another source of dopamine. In the same way that we are scrolling on TikTok to get a quick hit of dopamine, sugar also activates those similar neurotransmitters that give us that high. We also know that we're not eating a nutrient-rich diet, which means that when we are depleted and tired, the first thing we go to for energy is sugar. Which is why, when you're tired in the evening, you're probably like, I just need some chocolate. Because you're not craving chocolate, you're craving the sugar from the chocolate. Similarly, and this is a point that's quite, controversial, I suppose, is that with the previous low-fat diet, what was happening was people were taking fats out of food. So like low-fat Greek yogurt is an example I always go to here. And in order to make it taste the same and have the same texture, they needed to replace it with something, and that thing they replaced it with was sugar.
One big scam. Which was uncovered, actually. It's been talked about very publicly. They told us fats were bad and increased sugars. Turns out fats were actually quite normal.
Their fats are needed.
I mean, the clue is, if it's natural, if it comes from the ground, if it's God or evolution made, then it's fine. But if it's genetically modified, then we have a bit of a problem. I myself spent a lot of my years addicted to sugar, Red Bulls, chocolate bars, Kinder Buenos, you name it. But yeah, it's very unavoidable these days, and it is everywhere.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I think, we look at things like ready meals. Sugars are added to ready meals to make them last longer and taste better.
Really?
Yeah, because it's the only way that we can emulsify things to make it last and stay properly. Obviously, there are some incredible better options out there now, but it is everywhere. And it's not to say that we shouldn't have it at all. I'm very much of a moderate and balanced mindset. Yeah. I eat chocolate almost every single day, but it's good quality chocolate, and it's maybe dark chocolate with coconut sugar. And I'm having a balanced diet around that. I'm not completely saying I never eat sugar.
You know what might actually be a really good content idea for you? I don't know if you've done this.
Yeah.
But without naming the brand or the supermarket it comes from, you could have a series, for example, where you take things off the shelf and you really tell people what's inside it.
That's a really good idea, actually.
Because I have no idea what I'm picking up sometimes.
Yeah, it's difficult. I always say flip over the ingredient list. If you don't know half the ingredients in there, don't buy it.
But they're always weird names and acids and triglycerides.
Then don't buy
it. Okay. That's great advice. Listen, if it's not natural, try not to buy it. Beautiful way to end things, but before you leave, plug everything. Tell people where they can find you.
So you can find me at Eleanor Hoath _ on Instagram. I'm a registered nutritional therapist and wellness editor. And you can also find some of the content that we are creating at Bond Charge, which is an Australian wellness technology company, and at Health as well, which is an online wellbeing platform.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.